Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing all right today. Um, Today, I don't know, not a great day, right? It's 11 months today that Sebastian went missing. And that's so sad, right? It's just horrible. I'm hoping and praying we get news within this next month so that it doesn't go to a year. Um, it's my hope. That's my prayer. Hello, Canine. Welcome back. I hope you had a good time with your grandson last night. Ginger Girl, Brenda Joe, hello. Everybody's doing good. Yeah, so it dawned on me today, and I really didn't. I mean, there's nothing going on in Sebastian's case right now, guys, except not even a whole lot of drama, really. I mean, a little bit, but not anything too horrific, and we don't really talk about that anyway, right? Um, but no real good news. Hello, Cheryl. Good to see you. Oh, I'm glad, Canine. That's awesome. Um, so yeah, I just didn't want to let this day go by without remembering this young man, right? Um, my heart just breaks for him, it just does. Him, his dad, um, and you know, all of us that are praying for him to come home. All of us that have a heart for him, right? But today I wanted to kind of go in a little bit of a different direction. And that's because of kind of what we talked about last night. Um, about what the families go through when cases are unsolved or when things are drug out. It's kind of the same thing because, if any of you did not see our live last night, I encourage you to go back and watch it. We talked about an old case from 1994, where Nicole went missing, um, and then was found red rummed, viciously red rummed. And, they did find who did it. But now, this many years later, 31 years later, I guess, um, he tried to get out on the Miller hearing statute, and that didn't work. The judge said, no, you're not being released. I'm going to resentence you to life in prison. Now he's trying to appeal, you know, and that's just so wrong in so many ways, right? This family should not have to keep going through this, you know. So I kind of wanted to talk about that part of things, right? What does the family go through? I mean, we all kind of see it and see what Seth has gone through, right? And that's been hard enough to watch, hasn't it? That's living in a kind of a limbo, aren't they? I mean, can you imagine that, guys? Day after day in Seth's case for 11 months. There's others, um, you know, Brandy and Tyler, you know, bef- And it goes on and on. You've got Suzanne Simpson, you've got Emma Baum, and um, the John Benet Ramsey case, and I mean, I could name people and over and over and over again, right? But what did these families go through in these situations? And I thought it was important to just maybe take a look at that. Oh yeah, Ginger, like purgatory, right? Like purgatory. It's 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 got to be something like that, right? It's so I thought we'd take a little bit. I did some digging today, and I thought we'd take a look at just what kinds of things they go through. So there's a silent grief and understanding the trauma. Um, Families of missing persons, unsolved homicides, they ride an emotional roller coaster that never seems to end, right? They It's a emotional roller coaster, up and down. Oh, are those his glasses? Maybe. Bag 'em and tag 'em, Seth said, right? Oh, are those his pants? Well, you know, call law enforcement. Up and down, up and down. It's an emotional roller coaster. I, you know, there's the initial shock and disbelief, then the frantic search, the endless waiting, the false alarms. It's a cycle of hope and despair, and sometimes it goes on for decades, guys. It, take the case of Madeline McCann, right? Who went missing in 2007. Her parents, Kate and Jerry, have been through this roller coaster on a very public stage. They've had to deal with sightings, false leads, endless speculation. It's a never ending nightmare that becomes their reality, right? Um, it's just, and look at that cute little girl. You know, it it doesn't end. What about Hope and Kayla Berg? We talked about their case, right? John Bonet, beautiful little girl. It's it's just sad, what these families have to go through. And the media isn't always nice, guys, you know. How about personal anecdotes and testimonies from those affected reveal the depth of their emotional struggles. Many describe an overwhelming sense of loss that's exasperated by the unknown circumstances surrounding their loved one's fate. The mother of a missing person might recount the sleepless nights and the endless replaying of possible scenarios in her mind. A friend might speak of the haunting memories that resurface with every new lead or media report, each one a painful reminder of the unresolved case, right? Everyone around them, including the family, has a story to tell, right? I have two friends that I've watched go through hell. One son went missing in Baja and never found. The other son was red rummed by his 16-year-old daughter, her granddaughter. Wow. That's awful. My lawyer's brother disappeared on a trip 20 years ago. He still keeps hope that he will come home. Yeah. Well, they don't want to go there, right? And I don't blame them. Seth doesn't want to go there. And really, honestly, why should they if there's no evidence that they're not with us anymore, right? I wouldn't go there either if I was a parent, right? I wouldn't go there. Nobody could make me go there. They'd have to give me some kind of evidence to prove that they're no longer with us before I could believe that. And that's why I have taken the stand here, that when we're talking about Sebastian, that we're going to consider him to still be with us until or unless some evidence comes along that shows that he is no longer with us, right? Some cases are different. Suzanne Simpson, even though we have no evidence, even her family believes she's gone, right? Because of the DV that went on just before she went missing. So you can look at each individual case. I think of Gabby Petito and the Schmidt and Petito families, what they went through and how they felt, how they felt when Brian Laundrie came home with that van. And it was her van. It was Gabby's van. And he went back to Florida with Gabby's van without her. What must have gone through their minds? And then they plead the fifth, they lawyer up, and they go off on a vacation. Right? What, what does your mind, your heart go through? And what toll does it take on your body? I look at Brandy Vaughn and my heart just bleeds for her. I mean, I know she's got another illness, but guys, that has to take, that emotional toll has to not be good for your body, right? They say that when somebody goes through a really traumatic period, it does take a toll on your body. How many people have said, I turned gray overnight, I've heard that said, right? Parents of missing children never lose hope until they are found. And even then, they won't believe it. Yeah, sometimes they just don't, right? It's hard to wrap your mind around it because it's something that you're not expecting. I mean, grief is hard enough to cope with when you lose a loved one because it's their time to go. That's hard enough, right? That's difficult. When we get to be our age and we're losing our parents, that loss was difficult for me. I know Brenda Jo felt the same way, and I'm sure many of you others in here have felt the same way. That grief is horrible, right? But no one should ever have to lose a son or daughter and have them taken away from you in such horrendous circumstances where you don't know what happened, right? You have no clue what happened, and you have to live with that uncertainty every single day. The unknown is worse than knowing. Yeah. 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 And, I will never say that knowing will bring closure because I don't think that it does. I don't like that word closure. And the reason that I don't like it is because I don't think that those who are left behind, the families, they don't feel like there's closure there, even when justice comes, right? Because that person is no longer with them, right? Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. That's another thing that's hard to live with, right? Yeah. That's awful. It's horrible. You know, feeling powerless, forgotten by the justice system. That's another thing. We know that Seth went through that, right? For a while there, no one was telling him anything. He felt powerless, forgotten, right? They weren't talking to him. That's the legal side of things. Families have to navigate a complex, often confusing system because you don't work with police on a daily basis until something like this ends up happening. Then all of a sudden you're having to deal with police, with lawyers, with courts. You have to fight for information. You have to fight for updates. You have to fight for someone to care as much as you do, right? I've heard so many stories of families who feel let down by the system, who feel like their loved one's case isn't a priority. It's frustrating, it's infuriating. It's like they're fighting a battle on all fronts. And that's why when law enforcement is begins to start working with the families, the families are so grateful. I saw um, a press release where Brandy, you know, was talking after the police had given their press release, and she was thanking them all. And she was thanking them all in her statement the other day when she said that she saw that there were charges being brought, right? Um, because families are then grateful. That's all they want, guys. And our law enforcement needs to do a better job of being there for the families and for the victims of, victims' families. They need to do a better job. Think about the Idaho 4 families, right? They felt that big time, didn't they? Law enforcement wasn't telling them anything, right? I don't know if that's better now. Um, I haven't kept up with that end of things too much. I've tried to keep up with what's going on with the Brian Kober case. Um, and I was really happy to see today that the judge kind of shut Ann Taylor, Brian Koberger's defense attorney, down about DNA. He kind of let her have it, and that was a good thing. I pray for Seth. He has more on his plate than I can imagine, and all he wants is his son. Yes. And Seth has asked us now because law enforcement has started working with him and giving him updates and all that kind of stuff. So he has asked us to not go after law enforcement, right? And I fully agree. When law enforcement is working with the family, we need to let them do their job, right? And we need to applaud them for that, right? It's when they're not working with the family that we need to, you know, say something and speak up, right? Because overall, they need to do better with that, right? They need to have someone in the department that can be a liaison, right, for the families that can work with them and make them feel like they're a part of the process so that they feel included and not just left hanging, you know, how important that is. The ripple effect and long term impacts. Um, you know, Unsolved cases can put a huge strain on relationships. Sometimes you can see marriages crumble under the weight of uncertainty, siblings grow apart, friendships fade away. Um, I can think of one such case where siblings grew apart, and I'm thinking of the Dan Markel and specifically the Adelson family, how the one brother is totally pulled away from the family. Well, I mean, the rest of his family, there's a little bit to be desired there, right? But yeah, it can. But can you imagine what that brother's going through? His whole family is guilty of something. You know, his brother's in prison for the rest of his life. His mother's on trial. It doesn't look good for his sister and his dad. And so what is he living with? There's always some kind of impact, guys. That's what I'm saying. There's always some kind of impact. And we need to really remember that, right? Especially when we're talking about these cases, um, in YouTube and in chats and wherever we may be talking about them. We need to have a heart for those families, right? Sometimes that's difficult when we suspect that the family might be might have something to do with it, you know? But now, now that I've thought about things, you know, throwing hate their way isn't going to solve anything. We have to trust that law enforcement is going to figure it out and bring justice wherever that may land, right? But it seems like the missing person becomes the elephant in the room, always present, always absent. I've heard stories of families who've been torn apart by the stress, the blame, the different ways of coping. It's heartbreaking. It's like the loss of one person can shatter the lives of so many others, right? One person. Canine says, no matter how I feel about what has happened, I continue to believe Sebastian will come home alive and someone will be held responsible, in my opinion. I believe because Seth believes. Me too. Honestly, the fact that Seth has continued to believe and have hope that his son is alive is what has kept me hopeful. Because honestly, guys, if you look at some of this stuff that's going on out there, take for example the flashlight video, right? You could immediately go to a dark place with that flashlight video, right? Because most of us don't believe he walked out of that home. So what does that mean? Well, that he was carried. Was, and you could go to dark places there. There were these audio recordings that Justin played, right? Well, and those definitely go to dark places, and I won't even share those on here because I want to believe what Seth believes, right? I'm not going to go to those dark places. I have followed the Maura Murray case for years, and her family keeps trying to figure out what happened to her. It has been 20 years. Gotcha. I'm not familiar with that case, Cheryl, but so she's a missing person. Maura Murray, 20 years. Um, it's the same thing with Kayla Berg's family. Kayla would be in her, she was 15 when she left, and she'd be in her 30s now. I've watched her friends have children, and their children are growing up, and you know what I'm saying. I've watched them because it's right here in my town. I know one of her friends, right, and watch them have their children, and watching their children grow up, and then you think of Kayla, right? It's hard, and there's even an example with, I'm not close friends with her mom, but I know her mom. I've watched her mom struggle, right? It affects everyone around them. And it does become, I remember every time Hope's mom would walk into my place of business, I'm not going to say why or whatever, right? And I could tell by her face if she was having a bad day. And so right then and there, Kayla missing was the elephant in the room, you know? And you look at you're trying to greet her, "Hi, Hope. How are you doing today?" Well, she would tell me. She was never one to say, "I'm fine." She would say, "Today is Kayla's birthday," or "Today it's been X amount of years since Kayla went missing," or "Christmas is coming and Kayla's still not here." She would just tell me how she was feeling. And then it wasn't the elephant in the room anymore. Then I could empathize with her and hold her hand and squeeze it and tell her that I was thinking and praying for her, right? Um, but have you ever experienced that, guys, where it's the elephant in the room? The searchers were looking for something other than a live child. Oh my gosh. I've struggled with Sebastian's case. All these people search for a child who they say is not with us, yet limited people help search for a living child. Yes. Yes. I agree. They're looking. Yeah. And here's the thing, guys. We're at 11 months today. If they're out there searching woods and rivers and lakes and ponds now, what are they looking for? On the other hand, if if what Dog and Nick are thinking that he was somehow trafficked, maybe labor farm or something like that, then they're going to be out there searching, knocking on doors where they think he may be. That's a different kind of search, right? Hello, SRB. I'll have to look that up, Cheryl. I'm not familiar with it. Probably because I really started true crime with Gabby Petito's case. That's when I got interested in it. Her case mesmerized me, and yeah, grabbed my heart and didn't let go. Um, and then families do become isolated due to the stigma surrounding the unsolved case. The impact of an unsolved case isn't just limited to the immediate family, it ripples out. affecting extended family, friends, even entire communities. It's kind of what I was talking about with Kayla, right? It's affected the entire community. You don't think everyone in all the neighbors in Sebastian's neighborhood aren't affected by this, right? Everyone is touched by the loss, the uncertainty, the endless questions. You remember the Golden State Killer case? Before it was solved, it cast a shadow over entire neighborhoods in California. People were afraid, they were angry, they were frustrated. It changed the way they lived and the way they interacted with each other. They thought, a person was on the loose, guys. You know, of course, it changed the way they were living, right? That it would be awful. So it does. It affects not only the families, but it ripples out and affects entire communities. And look at how Sebastian's case and others, I don't mean to just single out, but I mean, we usually spend at least an hour every night talking about Sebastian, so I can't not speak about him, right? But look at how Sebastian's case has affected our little true crime community. What has happened on YouTube, TikTok, X, Facebook with Sebastian's case, with Summer Wells' case, right? And here's the thing. Why do some cases have the tendency to have this kind of impact and others do not? What is it about them? Is it the players in the case? And when I say players, family, law enforcement, right? Oh, good to see you. Um, so, what is it about some cases that affect more than others? Why do you think that is? I was traumatized when law enforcement raided our street to shut down a drug house. Yeah. Maybe a feeling of connection. That's a good point. Anyone else have a thought on that? I know that um Gabby, let me see if I can find that picture that I had of her, because it was the picture that grabbed my heart and never let me go. This one. That picture grabbed hold of me, and I had to know everything about that case. How beautiful she is. But she's reaching out literally from the grave by the time that I heard about the case. That picture will always haunt me. That picture will always haunt me. So I guess she's a beautiful girl. So there was a connection there. What do you think with Sebastian? Was it the autism, maybe? The fact that he had autism? Was it um was it the drama? The stepfather being so brash. I'm trying to be nice. Was that part of it, do you think? I mean, I don't know. Special need, right. And it does seem like many people, I was just going to say, Ginger, Sebastian reminds you of your son. Being a mom with a child with special needs hits home. Yeah. So, and I think many people that had, because I've seen that a lot in chat rooms for Sebastian, right? Where there are people, I mean, Julie Skolnick is one of them, right? Who have special needs children and are touched by this case, right? And it makes it all the more worse when you hear about the abuse that he took. So, then you can't let go of it, right? I mean, you just can't because you want to see the outcome. You want to see a good outcome for this little boy, right? Yeah. Mom and stepdad brought so much suspicion in this case. It really excelled things. I think so too. And, guys, it's a fact. Drama sells, right? It just does. Um, I don't, it's not a good thing in my opinion, but people are drawn to it. People are drawn to it. So it does affect, think about all the neighbors. We heard Bobby say how hundreds of cars were going up and down the street for weeks, right? And, um, and then even Chris was, I don't know, going after them and for Cheryl, that's heartbreak. Yes. And that's what it was for me, Cheryl, because I've never been around anyone with autism. Okay. Um, I mean, I definitely have a heart for children. My daughter has ADHD, which told Sebastian had as well. But autism, she did not have. So, I still do have a heart for that kind of stuff, right? But for me, it was watching Seth, right? You can see when there's genuine pain and loss and grief. You can see that in the face of another human being. You can see that. I watched it in Hope Berg and I see it in Seth. I see it in Brandy Vaughn, right? The statistics of parents who harm their disabled children are not good. The stressors are high and resources are limited. Yeah, that's horrible. That's horrible, right? That's awful. So, living with that unsolved case, that can take a serious toll on a person's mental health. We're talking PTSD, depression, anxiety, insomnia, and the list goes on. It's like living in a state of constant trauma, always wondering, always waiting. That would make you go mental, guys. I mean, think about it. How do you grieve for someone who might still be alive? How do you move on when there's no, oh, I hate that word, closure? You're stuck in limbo, unable to move forward, unable to let go. Right. No, it's no wonder that it causes mental health challenges, depression, anxiety, insomnia. And I think that goes along with the statistic that Ginger was talking about, parents who harm their disabled children. You know, they don't know how to deal with it, and it causes mental health issues. But can you imagine living in a constant state of trauma, always wondering, you're always waiting? You wake up every morning and they're not there. How do you grieve for that? You don't. How do you move on from that? You don't, right? You just don't. No, yeah. I, you know, and that's the thing. I don't think that we've really taken a look at what these families go through, right? Because we see it on Seth, right? We see that. But then, when we go about our lives, we get off the internet and we're doing other things, or we may watch a movie, or we may go to work, or whatever it is that you do throughout your day, you forget about it. But they can't escape it. And it's something that I really felt like is important to talk about, because we don't understand the depth of what they go through, right? So how did they cope with all of it? And we do know everybody's different. Some turn to support groups, some turn to therapy, some turn to advocacy, some throw themselves into the search, like Seth. Some try to live their lives as normally as possible. Some go on vacations. I'm sorry. I had to throw that in there. That was a joke, guys. I think it's important to remember that there's no right or wrong way to cope. Everyone's just doing the best they can in a situation that's impossible to understand unless you're living it, right? Um, and yeah, we tend to only look at the surface, exactly, of what's going on, and we don't really think about the impact. Because think about this, guys. If Sebastian isn't found in another year, I'll put a year out there, and I'm hoping I am. You know what I'm saying? I'm hoping that he's going to be found tomorrow. But I'm just throwing this out there as a what if in the wind. Is everybody still going to be talking about him every day? I don't think so. But is Seth still going to be feeling what he's feeling right now? Yes. The cry for justice, but is there truly justice after yesterday? Yeah. With Robin's case, I have to question what justice is. Me too. And again, guys, if you weren't here for yesterday's, I encourage you to go and watch it. Um, we saw And that it was one of the things that spurred me to talk about this today. Um, because Robin, it doesn't end for her. It was 31 years ago that her child was red-rummed by a 16-year-old boy. And then in 2016, the Miller hearing was created to go back and to look at all the children who had been sentenced to life without parole. And they had another trial, but the judge said, no, I'm resentencing you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. That was in 2023. Now, by the 31st of this month, January 31st, 2025, he has to file his appeal if he wants to, and he can keep filing. And every time his appeal comes up, Robin has to worry and wonder if the red rummer of her child is going to get released. That should not happen. And that's why Ginger said what she said about justice, right? It should not happen. The quest for closure, again, another word that I hate, but collaboration between various law enforcement agencies is another critical aspect. Sharing information and resources across jurisdictions can uncover new leads and offer fresh perspectives on stalled cases. Public involvement also plays a significant role. Look what happened in the Sebastian Rogers case, guys. We weren't getting anything until Dog at Night, Nick Hong came in, were we? There was nothing going. It was quickly becoming a cold case, wasn't it? It was quickly becoming a cold case. But then you had public involvement. You had a high profile celebrity come on the case and ask people for tips, and the tips started pouring in, guys. Right? Yes, SRB. It was horrible. And you know, Robin is usually in here most every time, like every other time or something, and she has mentioned it, but she asked me to look into her case, her daughter's case, and I did. And once I did, I had to talk about it. I could not believe what she's been through. It was horrible. But public involvement plays a significant role. Community tips and media coverage can reignite interest and encourage witnesses to come forward with new information. This collaborative effort between the public and law enforcement can sometimes lead to pivotal developments in unsolved true crime cases. Yes, SRB, that's the one. Yeah. Where she has mentioned her daughter Nicole. Yeah. Yeah, it was just a heads up. It was really sad and we were very angry. But I think it was important, right? Because she's dealing with this and she's one of us, right? And I think that bringing awareness to this stuff, I think that's what we're here for, right? It's not about calling out other creators and it's not about it. It's about bringing awareness and having empathy and trying to maybe make things better. You know, all of us who were in here last night were telling Robin that she has a place to come if she needs a shoulder to cry on, if she needs to talk it out, if she just needs support. We're here for her, right? We told her that yesterday. And yeah, exactly. A safe place that she can come to. And the same for anybody else, right? Because when you look at what these families go through, drama is the last thing that they need. Honestly, they don't need the drama. They don't need to go in and listen to somebody else cutting down somebody else. They don't need that. They need somebody who's got empathy and people who are there to say, I'm here, I'll help, I'll pray for you, you know. I even told her, she could email me but she doesn't know how to email. I mean, the poor woman. I just felt bad for her. So I said, "Come in here then. Just come in here." So, as we said, the media can play a big role in unsolved cases. It can help keep a case in the public eye. It can help generate leads. It can help put pressure on the authorities. But it can also be a double-edged sword, and we have seen that in Sebastian's case, haven't we? Sensational headlines, speculation. I hate this next word, but I think you guys know what I'm talking about when we say the armchair detectives who think they know best. It can be brutal for the families having their pain played out in the public eye, but at the same time, they need the spotlight, they need that attention. So media can be very, very helpful. Oh, yes. 100%, 100,000% Ginger. Missing children should not be a source of entertainment. They should not be. It's not entertainment. It's not about that. It's about bringing awareness. It's about keeping their case in the public eye, keeping their name in the algorithm of these social media places so that it's out there and so that it'll be seen, right? That's what it's about. And it does. It helps put pressure on the authorities, guys. I got to tell you, I'm just going to show you. And it really, really irritates me, but I'm just going to show you. Okay, see what we're looking at right here? See that all right? Make sure you can see it. Okay. So listen to how this is worded, okay? Jonah Cook might be quick on the gas pedal, but our deputies are quicker with the game plan. When a traffic stop turned into a high-speed getaway, Mr. Cook may have thought he'd left us in his rearview mirror. However, we don't need to chase you down every time to bring you to justice. Deputies coordinated efforts across the area, keeping their eyes open and their strategy sharp. It wasn't long before Cook's truck was located and traced to an address where he was known to stay. That's where our team found Jonah, who now has more than just a speeding ticket to worry about. Remember, you can run, but it doesn't mean we won't find you. Cook got burned full throttle to the jailhouse. Well, I'm so glad that they caught this speeder. I'm so glad. But what about Sebastian? What do you think, guys? That irritates me. I'm sorry. That irritates me. Is it cute? Is it funny? Does it get the community's interest? I suppose. But what about Sebastian? Right? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what they put up on their Facebook page. I don't see anything of Sebastian on their page, guys, for quite a long time. I don't. You know, you'd think they'd be putting it out there every couple days, right? You know, please send us your tips. If you know something, say something. He's still missing, right? They could use it for that versus rejoicing that they caught a speeder. Low level crime is what they're good at. Well, they've caught some drug people and some SA people as well. Um, and they posted that on there. I will give them that. Drugs are huge in Sumner County. Obviously, I think we know of a few people who live in Sumner County that are, are using drugs. We won't go any further than that. Um, so when we talked about, you know, personal stories of families impacted, right? Robin and Nicole having to deal with the Miller hearing, facing the possibility that Jason Simons could be released, along with an appeal and the possibility of more appeals in the future. Her daughter, it's the only daughter she ever had, has been gone for 31 years. Jason Simons was convicted and sentenced as a 16-year-old to life without the possibility of parole. Then in 2016, the law changed and the Miller hearing was created to say, well, we better take a look at these because maybe it's, you know, because their brains grow and maybe they can be rehabilitated and blah 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 blah. Well, Jason Simons feels that he's been rehabilitated, and a psychiatrist spent 2 days with him and said, "Oh yeah, he's rehabilitated." But thank God the judge said, "No, I'm resentencing you." So now he's appealing. Okay. Why should she have to go through this invisible pain constantly? What's the psychological impact of that, guys? Over 31 years. Her daughter would be 36 years old as of January 9th, she said. 36 years old as of January 9th. Madeline McCann. Her parents, Kate and Jerry, have been through the roller coaster. Had to deal with sightings, false leads, endless speculation. It's a never-ending nightmare that's become their reality. Kayla Berg. Her mother, Hope, has also been through this roller coaster, including, if anybody has seen the video that I played about Kayla Berg. If not, I encourage you to go back. Some idiot does videos on YouTube, and it's all like play acting, right? But he play acted that he had this girlfriend and that um he was acting like he was not all there or something. And I'll show you my girlfriend. And then he opens up the door and there's this darkened bathroom and this girl is screaming and she's chained to someplace in the bathroom and she's on the floor and she has dark brown hair and she's screaming and crying, right? And Hope, people were sending it to Hope and Hope thought it was her daughter. And I mean, the police got on it right away and they found out that it was just one of those stupid emails that somebody or stupid video that somebody puts up on YouTube acting stupid. Can you imagine what that did to Hope, though? Can you imagine? I mean, I can't. I can't imagine how she felt with that, you know. And, you know, you saw that, yeah. And I mean, Seth, when the glasses were found, when the pants were found, all these little things. It's a roller coaster, guys, for them. Yep. So people do for entertainment, and I hope that person, along with the girl who was play acting, they were both play acting, I hope that they felt horrible when they found out that a mother of a missing teenager thought it was her daughter. You know, and to Hope's credit, it was dark in that bathroom. They did that purposely. She had dark hair. Her facial she did look a lot like Kayla. But I think that when you're in that kind of position and you don't know where your child is, you're going to think that's them, right? Just like that child in North Carolina who they thought, so Seth thought that was him. I found out later that um the mother sent Seth pictures of um that boy from the time that he was a baby, progression pictures to show that, oh, it wasn't Sebastian. Yeah, there's a higher judgment day coming. No escaping that for sure. All right. So, I mean, we are a society that is fast paced. We want everything now, right? If we don't get answers, we move on. Unless we are close to someone that is continuing to struggle with the long term effects of an unsolved case, eventually we move on. That's why I said, if God forbid, a year from now, are people still going to be talking about Sebastian's case every single day? It's already getting difficult to kind of come up with something every day, you know, because I mean, think about it. You guys have seen it everywhere, right? You've seen the videos. Right? Um, there probably isn't anything we all haven't seen. A year from now, or, you know, if he's still gone, God forbid, not everybody's going to be talking about him every day. That's just the way our society is. But we do need increased awareness and compassion toward families who are still seeking answers. We need to remember to reach out. We can't forget. We can't. Right? And that's why I started that missing persons video. I'm playing it every day. And I just added Michael Monkey Vaughn to it. And I'll be adding people, and then when they're found, I'll be taking them away. Um, but that could get very long. I know that, right? But we don't want to forget them, do we? We don't. I know that there's many more I don't have on there, right? I'm sure you guys could think of. One of you brought it up. Mora, is that who you said? I'm trying to think of who you said earlier. I'm going back to look. Maura Murray. Okay. So there's another one, right? And I was watching something earlier that said that 2,401 people go missing every day. That's a lot of missing people, guys. Thank you, SRB. That's a lot of missing people. And it's no wonder that law enforcement, you know, feels like they're overworked and they don't have enough resources to cover everything. Look at how much manpower that it took them just that first week of searching for Sebastian. That's a lot of resources, guys. Right? And then since then, I mean, they're still using resources to research this case, to investigate. That's a lot of time and a lot of money. And when you're talking that many missing person cases, no wonder crime is at an all-time high. They don't have time for the other crime. Well, Sumner County does. They can catch speeders, guys. They're good at it. They'll tell you. I heard that will be Wednesday, K9. So we've all heard so many stories of families who feel let down by the system, who feel like their loved one's case isn't a priority. It's frustrating, it's infuriating, it's like they're fighting a battle on all fronts. And they should never have to battle for updates, right? I mean, remember in the beginning, Seth said, I mean, he was frustrated in many, many interviews, right? How many interviews in the beginning? He said that unless he calls them, nothing, right? Um, So there are great organizations out there doing this work. Places like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, right? The Gabby Petito Foundation. I absolutely love, guys, that the Petitos and the Schmidts are still, they came together. Now, Gabby, mom and dad were divorced. Okay. But they came together. Both parents are remarried. All four parents are still working together today for the Gabby Petito Foundation for just to bring awareness, for the missing, advocate, you know, anything that needs to happen. That's what they're there for. And the Doe Network. I never heard about them until I found this. They provide support, they provide resources, and they provide a community. Right? So there are places out there. But here's the thing. What about advocating for policy changes that prioritize families, right? And victims of unsolved crimes? Are we Oh, thank you, Cheryl. That's so nice of you. Oh, that means a lot to me, more than you will ever know. More than you will ever know. Thank you so much. And Lacey, hear somebody's cats again. But yeah, so are we paying attention to who we're voting for? And are they advocating for families and victims of unsolved crimes? What are they doing? Right? We need to be proactive and do what we can to make certain that families are being taken care of, the families of these victims of unsolved crimes, and making sure that if we have, the extra funds to give to these places so that, they have the resources necessary to help, right? I personally have given to the Gabby Petito Foundation several times now because I feel like it's important. And there's so many others, but I felt obviously a connection to that because I watched that case, right? And then these are just some of the places that I had gone to, and I have their links in the description of our video today. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of talk about what they go through, right? And why isn't my thing showing? There we go. Because the families are important. They can't be left behind, right? There's too many that are hurting. I was talking to Ginger, about Robin's case, and yes, absolutely, Canine. I agree. And it's a special place because of all of you. My mods, my wonderful mods, and everyone that comes in here to support the channel, guys. You help make it a safe place. And it's wonderful because I couldn't do this on my own. Honestly, I couldn't. I have to have you guys. But yeah, we were talking about everything that Robin has gone through, and my heart breaks, right? When I started thinking about everything that Robin went through, and, you know, um, and then it made me think about Seth, and it made me think about the Petitos and the Schmidt families, and um, Brandy and Tyler, and I can't even imagine. Oh, by the way, guys, if you go to my community page, there is a meal train um, that is has been set up for Brandy and the family because she does need a liver transplant. Right now, all they're asking for is just help with meals. Um, So if you're able to help and you want to help, go to my community page and you can give gift cards for different places for food. If you live in her area, you can actually drop it off at her house. Um, I love the meal train. That's whoever thought of that. That was ingenious. Um, and she said that once she has the transplant, of course she might need some extra funds, but they're not asking for funds right now. So, I really think that when someone is, you know, going through difficult times like that and they're not asking you for money, they're saying, but could use meals right now, that would really help. Maybe after I have this transplant operation, funds might be necessary, but for now I don't need. How That is being so honest, guys, right? That's just being very, very honest. So I've, from all accounts and purposes, from everything that the alleged perpetrators are saying, her son's not alive, right? I'm hoping that's not the case, but it doesn't sound good. But either way, he needs to come home to her, right? It's just horrible, just awful. When does it end, right, for these poor families? And you always hope for a good outcome. Like, we always hope for the day that Sebastian will be brought home and he'll be a joyful reunion, right? But that's not the case for everybody, right? Not the case for everybody. But yes, K9, you said it perfectly. Together we can make a difference. And we can. We can make a difference together. I believe that with all my heart. And so I'm going to share my grannyism with you today. Grief is not a disorder, a disease, or a sign of weakness. It is an emotional, spiritual, and physical necessity. It's the price you pay for love. The only cure for grief is to grieve. Earl Groman said that. And I thought that was really beautiful because, there are those who will try to make you feel bad about grieving. Um, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? People need to grieve in their own way. because it is. It's the price you pay for love. And you would never want to give that up. Never want to give that love up. The only cure is to grieve. Please remember, say a special prayer for Sebastian today. 11 months today, we're heading into 12. Let's bring this beautiful boy home. And continue to share him on your social media, guys. Every day I put out a picture of Sebastian or a video, one or the other. Share that if you don't, if you don't have the time to make up your own, but feel free to share mine, right? I put it out there every single day. It's very rare that I miss it. Very rare. Because I never want to miss a day of getting his face and his name out there in that algorithm. I may not talk about him every single night, but I think I do bring him up, whether I'm talking about him or not. I think I can't help it. I think I can't help it. Amen. Strong men do cry and grieve. That is so true. That is so true. I always hate that when I think that was kind of like an old time saying. I heard my dad say it to my grandson, and I said, that's not true. Boys can cry. I love my dad. I loved him. But boys can cry. Strong men cry. Yes. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to leave you with that. Share his name out there, share flyers if you're able to. Light it up green. Every time I come down my steps and it's just getting dark out and I see Sebastian's lights on, I talking to Lacey and I'll say, Lacey, Sebastian's lights are on. I know, crazy. Thank you guys. I appreciate you so much. Well, thank you guys. We will see you tomorrow night. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at granniescrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.